As 2023 comes to a close, we must look at some of the worst money habits we have in Canada and why we must leave those behind as we start fresh in 2024. Some might apply to you and some might not, but we all must stay vigilant to make sure that these habits don't creep into our lives. The point of this video is not to make anyone feel bad. We all start somewhere in our financial journeys and we are all at different stages. The only thing that matters is that we all make it. Let's begin. Starting with the first habit, relying too much on high-interest debt. Many Canadians are struggling with high levels of debt. In 2023, the household debt service ratio in Canada, which measures the proportion of income used to service debt, rose to 15.22%. This debt comes in many forms, but the most common one is racking up credit card bills without paying them in full. 43% of Canadians currently have credit card debt, while the average balance in Q2 2023 was a massive $4,185. It's also important to note that 53% of Gen Zs in Canada reported using their credit cards to pay for essential purchases. Now, using your credit card for essential purchases is not a bad thing. The bad thing is not paying it off. And what does this all mean? Basically, a significant portion of Canadians' income is going towards paying off debt, often with very high interest. This can lead to a cycle of debt that is extremely hard to break free from. This can also lead to a reduced credit score, making it harder to obtain loans or mortgages in the future when it's time to buy a house. To avoid this, you have to try and pay off your high interest debt as soon as possible. If you're struggling, consider seeking advice from a financial advisor or a credit counselor. Also, if your debt is too bad, consider negotiating with your card issuer for a lower interest rate or transferring your balance to a card with a lower interest rate. For those who don't have this problem, stay far from it. Always use credit cards for convenience and not reliance. Make sure to keep your credit utilization rate below 35% for the least impact on your credit score. And finally, always keep it on autopay to never miss a payment. Second on this list of habits is not having an emergency fund. Having an emergency fund is crucial for financial stability, yet many Canadians lack sufficient savings. Having emergency savings simply means setting aside some money for unexpected expenses. However, in 2023, 1 in 4 Canadians were unable to cover an unexpected expense of $500. Without emergency savings, these unexpected costs can lead to financial stress and debt. And this is in no way good for your mental health either. If you don't have an emergency fund or it's not sufficient enough, start by building a good one. Even small regular contributions can add up to a lot over time. Consider setting up automatic transfers to a savings account to make this process even easier. I split my emergency fund in 2 accounts. One in a cash account with Wealthsimple earning 4% interest and some in EQ Bank earning 3%. Find what works for you, but make sure to maintain an emergency fund that covers 3 to 6 months of expenses. Stay ready for any unforeseen circumstances. Next, we have habit 3, unconscious spending without budgets. Often characterized by thoughtless purchases made out of convenience or habit, unconscious spending is a big issue in Canada and in general in North America. Nearly half of Canadians are concerned about their current financial state. This habit can have detrimental effects on your day-to-day life. This can lead to financial strain and not being able to meet your essential expenses. It's those little purchases that you make on a regular basis, like that daily coffee from Starbucks or online impulse buys that can really add up. Unconscious spending again involves using credit cards for payments a lot, and this is a problem we just discussed. The rising cost of living and inflation worsen this issue as your dollars are not stretching as far as they once did. To tackle unconscious spending, create and adhere to a personal budget. Be mindful of your spending habits and analyze your financial habits better. By being more intentional with your purchases and setting and following a budget, you can regain control of your finances. This way, you can also work towards achieving your long-term financial goals. So the first 3 habits have to do with basic money management. Next up, let's look at some investing related habits that are not looking great for Canadians. Before that, if you're enjoying this video so far, hit like and consider subscribing if you like what you're watching. It really helps out the channel. Now let's get to habit number 4, not utilizing tax sheltered accounts. Many Canadians are not taking full advantage of tax sheltered savings and investing accounts like TFSA, FHSA and RRSP. Some surveys show that only 63% of Canadians have a tax-free savings account. As far as retirement is concerned, 4 in 10 Canadians don't feel confident about their retirement plans. From day-to-day conversations with people, it seems like the newly introduced first home savings account is still unknown to many. When you don't make use of your tax-sheltered accounts, you're not only behind on your goals, you're also overpaying in taxes. You know who's the worst allocator of money in Canada? Yes, it's probably the government. You should pay whatever taxes you owe, but make sure you get to keep as much as possible of your hard-earned money. Of course, do this in a legal way within allowed limits. taxes. By overpaying in taxes, you are also losing out on potential gains that you might have by investing and saving that money. Remember, a simple 8,000 contribution to your FHSA can save you over 2,000 in taxes that you can then invest again. To avoid this habit, make sure you open and use these tax-sheltered accounts. Start by contributing a small amount regularly. Over time, this can lead to significant savings and returns if invested properly. If you're struggling to figure out which account to start with and how to prioritize these accounts, check out this video I made recently. It should give you a nice framework to work with. The next habit related to investing is having a home bias and not diversifying investments. In Canada, a common bad investing habit is having a home bias. Home bias in investments refers to a tendency to invest more in local companies than in foreign ones. For example, Canadians allocated 52% of their total equity allocation to Canadian stocks. Many Canadian investors tend to overemphasize the importance of Canadian stocks in their portfolios, leading to less diversification. While the Canadian market is known for its stability, the market growth tends to be a bit slower. Therefore, it's important to invest in US companies as well as some other countries to capitalize on growth opportunities as well as mitigate some risk. The US market, for example, offers access to a wide range of industries and companies, often exhibiting strong growth rates and innovation. Canada is not really home to innovation, which results in very few growth companies. A company like Shopify is a rare tech gem in the recent years. On the other hand, our neighbors in the US are building and growing companies at a rapid pace. The biggest companies, our favorite tech companies, and even the most liquidity can be found there. This gives us a great opportunity to avoid this habit by investing in the US markets. Most Canadian trading and investing apps let you buy US stocks pretty easily. I trade and invest on Wealthsimple and have had no issues apart from the varying exchange rates. Also, there are several emerging markets which are projected to outpace the Western markets. By diversifying globally, investors can benefit from exposure to different economic cycles, industries, and currencies. This can reduce the impact of any one market's underperformance on your portfolio. While the optimal allocation for Canadian investors is suggested to be 30% Canadian equities and 70% international, it really depends on you. I have my investments spread across a bunch of Canadian dividend stocks, ETFs, US stocks, and the classic S&P 500 ETF. I also have some allocation to Bitcoin and ETH. The last habit is the most normie mistake, that is lack of financial planning. Let's talk about this. It's like setting out on a road trip without a map. You might eventually get where you're going, but it might take you much longer, or even worse, you might get lost. In Canada, most people don't have a financial plan, which can make it extremely hard for them to achieve their financial goals or even plan for retirement. According to a report by BMO Real Financial Progress Index, a massive 69% of Canadians do not currently have a financial plan and 60% don't even have a household budget. This seems to be a very common practice among people I know as well. The problem with the whatever happens happens mentality is that your life and financial situation can exponentially become messy. To get on track, start by setting clear financial goals and creating a plan to reach them. If you're not sure where to start, consider seeking the help of a financial advisor. You can also check out my previous video which was all about creating a one-page financial plan for yourself. This video includes a free template in which you examine your income, taxes, spending, investments, and savings. Following that, you reflect and analyze how 2023 went. Finally, you will use that information to set goals for 2024. Even if you don't use this template, just make sure to start working on your own plans. Those were some of the bad habits I wanted to talk about in this video and why it's important to leave them behind in 2023. 2024 is about to start soon, so let's make sure we make it a year of personal and financial growth. Also remember, constant learning is the backbone of good money management, saving, and investing. As I always say, keep learning and stay on top of your finances. Until next time.